weird companies, 3 kinds of attention, and peak social? Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear, powered by your habitual attention, and brought to you by No Disc, helping music, technology, and finance companies navigate the music industry, and partnered with Digital Music News. It's March 11th, 2026. I'm Lars Murray. It's Viral Wednesday, but before we go viral, a little feel-good news to start the day. Over at Billboard, there's a piece entitled, How Music Grows Weird, For-Profit Companies Are Redefining Access to Industry Training. Tom Rowland reports on companies in Nashville going out of their way to help people get a leg up in the industry, which I think is pretty cool. It's even cooler that 2 of these weird companies are MTheory, headed up by old friend Cameo Carlson, and the current employer of the great philosopher Eduardo Rivadavia, whose famous quote graces this podcast every Friday. The other weird company cited in the article near and dear to this podcast is Tunrkey ZRG, whom you might know as the provider of our occasional job of the week here, via old friend and master recruiter Tom Truitt. For a look at how these 2 companies are giving aspiring industry players outside of the Nashville mainstream a leg up, check it out in Billboard. Here at Unlimited Supply, we are proud to have weird friends like that. Anybody who knows me knows that I've been banging on the drum, banging on the tin pots and pans about the fact that there's a lot more opportunity in K-pop podcasting. Sure, there are and have been a bunch of video series, and Eric Nam built a career doing long-form pods, but now some 5 to 7 years later, Spotify and Hybe have finally decided to team up to do some podcasting together, which is cool. It's likely to scratch an itch for Hybe acts. However, what K-pop really needs is an independent K-pop news source delivered via podcasts and not just YouTube. If anybody wants to sponsor this, let me know. After all, I do have some experience creating content on the regular. Ashley King has the story on how the podcast wars are escalating over at Digital Music News. All right, let's get viral. Have we passed peak social? Over in social media today, Andrew Hutchinson is reporting that engagement across several major social platforms went down last year. Yes, you heard that right. Down, not up. According to a report compiled by Buffer, engagement on Instagram, Threads, and even LinkedIn declined. And Buffer would know. Buffer is the software that people use to manage posting across social accounts. Have we finally reached the tipping point? Are we just burned out by socials? I, for one, would not be surprised if this turns out to be the case. And honestly, if the trend were to continue, it might be a little refreshing. Not at least because it might cause Meta in particular to become a little bit more reflective about its pursuit of growth at all costs, including the cost to civil society as a whole. I'm not suggesting that any social worker bees drop everything on these platforms or hold their breath for socials to be anything but the dominant marketing communication platforms, but maybe, just maybe, this is an early indicator of some needed change to come. But we're going to need more evidence. For one, TikTok doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And in another refreshing sign of sanity, Blue Sky CEO Jay Graber, one of the best thinkers in social, has done something rare. She's stepped aside and become Chief Innovation Officer and handed off the reins as CEO. Knowing yourself and knowing your strengths and weaknesses is an undervalued asset in the corporate world, where the Peter Principle too often rules. No permanent successor has been named, but kudos to Graber for having the courage to give up a little power for the good of the whole. Back in October, Ben Woods of MIDIA Research projected that we were on the road to a media landscape of 1.1 billion creators, and he backed it up with some impressive data and reasoning. At the time, I expressed a little bit of skepticism given my observance of passivity among the Gen Z cohort, and that peak social item might be a counter-indicator to that prediction. Still, Ben is very thoughtful and worth following. The other day in a LinkedIn post, he shared what I consider a pretty foundational breakdown of media consumption habits, placing them in 3 buckets. Pull up a chair. This is kind of important. Ben breaks down media attention into 3 buckets. The first one is disposable attention, in which users scroll, consume, and move on. The second is habitual attention, which I assume is what you're engaging in right now. That is, returning to the same creator on a regular basis. And the third is devotional attention, which I can only hope to achieve from you, dear listener. Ben describes it as fandom built around characters and worlds. Characters like the great philosopher Eduardo Rivadavia, and worlds like this crazy music industry we work in. All kidding aside, Ben notes that these three kinds of attention require very different kinds of media, and that's pretty foundational for a creator. For more details, you can check out Ben's LinkedIn post, with which I suggest you engage. As for what's actually viral this week, Ella Langley's Choosing Texas is number 2 on the Shazam list this week. There's nothing bad about a single that features a bright red El Dorado on the cover. It also topped both the country charts and the Hot 100, so there's no explaining necessary as to why she's so far up the list. Our viral for the olds this week is Anita Ward's Ring My Bell. It's riding a trend where users believe it carries, quote, an abundance frequency that helps manifest wealth, luck, and unexpected opportunities. Abundance frequency and Ring My Bell. If there's such a thing as patent horseshit, that's what this theory is. Where the hell was your so-called abundance frequency when I was on my hands and knees, sweating my ass off in the summer of '79, weeding Herb Wilkinson's garden for minimum wage as Ring My Bell was being played twice an hour on AM radio, driving me completely batshit crazy? There's nothing abundant about that, you TikTok charlatans. But good on Anita Ward, wherever she may be, for having a hit 45, no, make that 46, nope, make that 47 years later. Oh, and by the way, 1979 was no effing cakewalk. Let me see. Oil prices skyrocketing, a major global crisis involving the U.S. and Iran, growing unemployment. Come to think of it, looked a lot like just about now. If that's abundance, you can keep it. Our viral correspondent Lydia Valentino could not join us this week, but reports that Bella K's I Love It, I Love It, I Love It went from a buzzy viral track to a bona fide hit, reaching number 43 on the Hot 100 and number 19 on the more streaming-focused V30. That's Lydia's own chart. It's a song that simmers in the melodrama of a toxic relationship. The captions using it end with the lyric, "We don't have to get into what that says about me." Given the attitudes of that app, maybe they should. I have no idea what that means, but keep it coming, Lydia. Thanks as always. You can check out that V30 playlist on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes. And that's another Viral Wednesday. Support for Unlimited Supply is provided by Qobuz. There are a lot of reasons you might be thinking about switching your music streaming service. I know, I just did it. We talk about the big tech giants pretty much every day at Unlimited Supply, and if you're thinking about switching to a more independent service, you should be switching to Qobuz. Qobuz is the music service for the serious music fan. It features nothing but music, so every subscription dollar you spend on Qobuz is about music, not podcasts. And Qobuz has lossless audio for the highest quality sound. You can hear the difference. The other thing Qobuz has is actual human curation. That means actual human music recommendations, not just an algorithmic feed. That's why Qobuz is the second fastest growing entertainment app in the United States. There's a reason music fans are switching to Qobuz. Visit Qobuz.com/supply to sign up for a free trial. That's QOBUZ.com/supply to sign up for a free trial. If you like what you hear, please hit that follow button wherever you get your pods. I live for your praise and encouragement in person, but it helps a lot more if you drop us a rating and or a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. And tell a friend or three. Links are in the show notes, but you can also visit unlimitedsupplypod.com to sign up for our newsletter, to tell us what you think about the show, to suggest feature ideas, to feed us info, to feed us lunch, to call us out on our dubious assertions, and to tell us what we're missing out on. I'm Lars Murray, and remember, in this business, no conflict means no interest.